All right, today we're going to dive into a fascinating paradox, one that's right at the heart of how the cloud works. How do you share secrets securely in a place that was literally designed from the ground up to keep everyone completely separate? Okay, let's get into it. Yeah, it's a great question, isn't it? I mean, we think of the cloud as this incredible tool for connection, for sharing, for working together. And yet, its single biggest security feature is basically a giant, impenetrable wall. So, what happens when you absolutely have to work with someone on the other side of that wall to get something important done?
To really get the solution, we first have to understand the wall itself. And it all comes down to this one fundamental idea in cloud security: isolation.
And you gotta understand, this isn't some kind of bug or an accident. It's the core feature. All of the big providers, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they build their entire platforms on this foundation of strict separation. It's a concept called tenant isolation.
So, what do we mean by tenant? Well, it's simple. It's an organization, a customer, you. And isolation means exactly what you think it means. Everything your company has in the cloud, your data, your applications, your users, it all lives in its own secure digital silo, completely walled off from everybody else. And what's really interesting is just how universal this idea is. You can call it a domain like an OpenStack, or an account in AWS, or a subscription in Azure. It doesn't matter. The name changes, but the core idea is always the same: a secure, isolated boundary. It is the default setting for the whole cloud.
Okay, so this wall is great for security, we get it. But what happens when that security wall, the very thing that's supposed to protect you, actually gets in the way? Because there are times when collaboration isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely critical.
So let's paint a picture. A massive cyber attack goes down. To fight it, you need to bring in the cavalry, right? Your internal team, security specialists from other companies, maybe even a government agency. They all need to share highly sensitive data, and they need to do it fast. But everyone's stuck behind their own protective walls.
And this is the million-dollar question. You obviously can't just hand over the keys to your entire kingdom. That would be an absolute security nightmare. So how do you create a secure meeting place without compromising the very isolation that keeps you safe to begin with?
Well, the answer is actually incredibly elegant. And the best part is, it builds right on top of the security that's already there. It's something called a Secure Isolated Domain, or SID for short. So a SID is basically a purpose-built neutral zone. Think of it as a temporary, highly secure environment where different organizations or tenants can all come together to work on one specific shared mission. And honestly, this is the perfect way to think about it. An embassy is sovereign territory for one country, but it's physically located inside another, right? It's a secure, controlled space where representatives can meet and work together under a very clear set of rules. A CID does the exact same thing, just with data and digital tools. Now, this digital embassy isn't just one big open floor plan. No, just like a real embassy building, it has different rooms inside, and each room has its own purpose and its own level of security.
So let's break down the floor plan. You've got the core project, which is kind of like the main conference room for official business. Then there's an open project. Think of that as the public lobby for sharing general, non-sensitive info. And most importantly, you have secure, isolated projects, or SIPs. These are like the secure, soundproof rooms where teams can work on a top-secret mission, like responding to that cyber attack.
Okay, so the theory sounds great, but what does this whole digital embassy thing actually look like in practice? Let's pop the hood and take a look inside OpenStack, which is a really popular open-source platform for building clouds. So what you're seeing here is the before picture. This is standard out-of-the-box OpenStack. Each of those domains, those are the tenants, is its own little fortress. By default, there's just no way for them to talk to each other. Period. And then, bam, the cyber incident hits. Suddenly, the people in Domain A and Domain B have to work together, and they need to do it immediately. And here's the after. The SID model basically plugs in our digital embassy. See how users from those completely separate domains can now get specific, controlled access to this new shared space? They get to collaborate, but without ever having to tear down the walls of their home domains. It's pretty brilliant. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's cool for OpenStack, but what about the clouds that most of us actually use day to day? Well, the best part is, this isn't just some OpenStack idea. It's a universal blueprint. This is a classic example of what's called convergent design. When a bunch of really smart engineers at competing companies all run into the same hard problem, they often arrive at basically the same elegant solution, all on their own.
And that's exactly what we see across all the major cloud providers. I mean, just take a look. On the left is AWS, on the right is Microsoft Azure. Sure, they look a little different, but notice the pattern? In both models, there's a central management area that other accounts or subscriptions can securely plug into. That's the embassy. It is the exact same pattern.
The only real difference is the terminology. AWS builds these embassies using things called roles, which are just sets of permissions. Azure uses resource groups, which are like containers for sharing stuff. Different names, but the exact same architectural DNA.
So the crucial point really is this. It doesn't matter what the cloud providers call all the little pieces. The pattern is what matters. You create a secure, neutral space for collaboration that honors and maintains the security of everyone involved.
And why is this so important? Because this pattern unlocks some incredible possibilities. It allows giant companies to form secure partnerships. It enables global teams to respond to threats in minutes instead of days. And it lets us share massive amounts of data for research and innovation without ever giving up control of our own stuff. In a world that's more connected than ever, these secure digital embassies aren't just a niche feature anymore. They're a fundamental building block for the future of business, security, and science. The only question left, really, is what are we going to build with them next?